Melissa here with Web of Creativity, and today we're going to do a construction video on how to make this 2-page waterfall album. So I have two different versions. This version is a pull tab waterfall, so you just pull the tab to flip all the pages. That's version number 1. And version number 2 is an original. So it's original waterfall. There's no pull tabs. It's just the flaps. So this construction video, I'm doing both of these versions. So this is a page out of the album. So I'm going to go through this real quick. The paper collection I'm using is Graphic 45's Flutter. And oh, there it is. Graphic 45's Flutter. So I have kits for this. For Flutter collection, I am working on the Christmas Magic. I do not have kits for this, but if you are interested, just send me an email. If I get enough, I will put kits together for it. So then we have this large pocket with a tag and 2-page waterfall. So we have the vertical and then we have the horizontal. So nowadays we take pictures, more vertical pictures with our cell phones than we do horizontal. So this gives it a little bit of both. And this is the same, it's just the pull tab. And 2 pages. So it's 2 pages because waterfalls are heavy in paper. So with this paper collection and some cardstock, I made this album, but if I needed another page, I'd have to get another paper collection or more sheets of this collection. So again, waterfalls are heavy in paper, and that's why it's only 2 pages, but it does hold about 58 pictures. And this guy right here is what is it, 7 1/4 by 9 3/4. It's pretty fast to make, so it's perfect if you want to make some Christmas presents, because that's what I'm doing with this album. For this Christmas guy, again, it has the same thing. So it has this big pocket here for the tag, and then the horizontal waterfall. So this is just the original version of a waterfall, using magnets for your closure. And with the pull tab, it stays flat pretty good. No closure needed, no strap or magnets needed. So we'll do construction, make the whole album, including the cover, decorating, matting, and both pages for the pull tab and the original. And kits and tutorials on my blog, www.webofcreativity.net. All right, let's get started. We're going to work on the cover. So we have front and back cover of chipboard and the spine. And I've already added my tape to all the pieces. So we're going to take just one for the back cover first. And I have 2 sheets for my covers. So I have, this one's going to be the front cover and the spine and a little bit of the back. So we have the front cover, spine, and a little bit of the back. And then we have our solid color cardstock for our back. Now the camera makes this look blue, but it's more of a purple color. But anyways, so we're going to have it flush to one side. And the reason for the flush is because my top cover piece is going to go over it. So this can just be flush to the side. Alright, so I'm going to turn it so I can see. Again, it's going to be flush to the side, and I'm going to have it even. It's going to be a 3/4 inch overhang on both sides. Well, all three sides. All three sides is going to be a 3/4 inch overhang. I'm going to take my bone folder. And next I'm going to take my other bone folder. I have two. One is more for, you know, running over paper and then folding the edges and things like that, because it does have a flat edge. The other one has more of a point. This is for my scoring bone folder, and so it's for the scoreboard, but I also like to score around the edges of my cover. This way it helps when I fold everything over. Of course, before I do that, I need to trim my corners and add tape to my chipboard. So I got my craft mat out and my craft knife, and we're going to trim the corners at an angle. I'm using my Tim Holtz ruler. It has that first tick mark is 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to take that mark and hold it right at the corner of the chipboard, and then we're just going to cut at an angle. It does not have to be a perfect angle. And then you see that little bit of space right there. The reason for that is if it gets too close to the chipboard and then you fold your papers, you might see the chipboard through the paper. And then we'll do the bottom. Well, I have to turn that so I can see it. Alright. Okay, I trimmed the corners and added a piece of tape all the way around, flush to the edge of the chipboard. I used a 1/2 inch tape with a 3/4 inch overhang. So if you had a 1/2 inch overhang, I would use a 3/8 inch tape. So I'm going to put this to the side and grab my second cover piece and attach. Just move my light. So this is also going to be a 3/4 inch overhang. Is this all the way up? Yep. So let's take this off. Now when you're, I'm not really using directional paper, but when you're using directional paper, you want to make sure that, you know, the paper is the right side when attaching. Okay. So this, I'm going to use my roller. Yeah, I turned it sideways so I can see it a little bit better. It is the same as the front cover. The only reason I'm using the ruler is because the paper is a little bit busy, so it's harder to see for my judging. 3/4, 3/4. Perfect. Take my bone folder and just smoothen that out a bit. And then we're going to add our next piece. Our next piece is our spine, which we're going to attach right next to it, the same height, and make sure it's even with the top and bottom. And then I'm going to use my spacer. My spacer is 2 pieces of chipboard. So I'm going to put my 2 pieces of chipboard flush to my first piece, hit it with my second piece, and make sure it's lined up at the top and the bottom, and then attach. So let me take off my tape. And with this guy, I'm actually going to add an extra piece of adhesive using my ATG, which is my advanced tape glider. So I'm going to put my chipboard, spacer, line this guy up at the top and the bottom. Make sure it's lined up, spaced evenly, and attach. There we go. And then we're going to attach our back side to this section. So with this guy, we're going to have to add some tape, of course, but we're going to want to put it flush to the top and bottom, also using a spacer. So our tape is going to go, let me grab my tape. We're going to go ahead and put it at the edge of our back piece. I'm using a 1/2 inch tape. And I'm going to put it at the edge of this guy. Let's see. I think I'm going to add another strip. This is my 1/4 inch tape. So the reason I did that is I just held where this guy's going to go and this guy's going to go, and then I have that little space there. So I just wanted to make sure to cover it. I don't want to fold it and then the paper not stick to the back side. So I want a really good stick. And it's okay if this paper goes over on either side. It doesn't have to line up perfectly with this paper because it's just going to get wrapped over underneath and you're not going to be able to see it anyways. Okay. Again, I'm going to use my spacer. Oh. Make sure it's lined up at the top and the bottom with the chipboard. And it doesn't matter that the paper isn't lined up perfectly. And there we go. Okay, so we need to trim our corners for this side. And roll that around. And it's just the same, doing the 1/8 of an inch. Cut at an angle. And then we're going to take foam folder. Okay. And then we're going to add our tape. So when I add my tape to the rest of the chipboard, I'm skipping over the gaps. We don't need to add tape to the gaps. to take my bone folder and we're going to attach two sides first. So just kind of fold it with my fingers and then with my bone folder. And again, we're only attaching two sides. We're going to attach the short sides first. And I meant to ink those corners, so let me find my ink. I'm using Distress Oxide Vintage Photo. It's either that or Black Soot, but I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I meant to do this before. And the purple paper, it's not really a problem. Alright. So after we, sorry, I'm messing with my ink drawer. After we do that, we're going to tuck in our corners. So we just take the edge of our corner and our bone folder or our fingernail and just hit it so it tucks in, and this paper will fold over and the paper will be tucked in so it's not loose. Oops. So I'm going to tuck in all of my corners and then attach the other two sides. Alright, so when we pick this piece up and we use our bone folder to go along the edge, we're going to skip the gaps. Just because if you're pressing too hard, your paper might tear because of the gaps and the lack of anything holding against it. So we'll run it, skip, run, skip, run. So first I'm going to pick it up with my fingers, and then I'm going to run it, skip over the edge, run, skip, run. And then I always start in the middle and then go out. Again, jump over, press against the side, jump over, edge. This just smooths the edge out. That's why I do it. I like the flat edge. I think it looks really good. Alright, so pick jump, jump, turn, middle first, middle first. I cut this guy a little too short. It's alright. Jump, jump, flatten, jump, flatten, jump. Alright. Okay. Because I cut this one too short, I'm just going to ink it. Once I get that paper on there, you're not going to be able to tell. Okay. Next we're going to work on the inside. And putting my fingers on the corners so when you fold it, it doesn't bubble. because it could bubble upwards instead of inside the corners. So there we go. That's the inside. We need to work on. Next, we're going to need to add some tape to our spine area. So I'm going to take my 1/2 inch tape and I'm going to attach it about 1/2 inch from the top, flush to the edge of the gap area, and then about 1/2 inch from the top again. The reason why it's 1/2 inch from the top is because your paper that you're matting with, you're going to edge all the way around with tape. So it's already going to have tape there, so you don't need it again. Then we're going to do flush again on the opposite side of the gap. This is very important because once you put your paper on there and you close your album, and if there's no tape right up against this edge, it can bubble. It will bubble. I've had that happen. So you definitely want to have it flush against both of those edges between the gaps so you do not cause any bubbling. So I'm going to do that to both sides. And then we're going to add more tape to the center. Let's see. That should be good. Let me see if my 1/4 tape will fit in between that gap. Okay. The reason why I'm adding so much tape to the middle is because it's your spine. It's where all of your paper is going to go. It's where your pages are going to go. So you want to make sure this paper is attached because it's going to have the most weight on it. All right. We've covered, let me get my bone folder, we've covered that spine area. So this guy right here is going to attach, so it's going to cover that much area. So we're going to want to put a couple more pieces of tape on this side. So I got my tape and I'm going to attach. So when I attach, it's going to be an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. And then once that's attached, we will attach our back side also with an 1/8 of an inch border. Looks good. Alright, then move that out of the way. Okay. Now I'm turning this so I can see it better. I'm going to do that 1/8 inch border evenly at the top and bottom. And then make sure as it goes down, this is the same way. It's going to be 1/8 inch border, but I also want to make sure it lines up with the pink. I love the dragonflies in this paper. They're so pretty. Look at that dragonfly. Looks so good. Now we're going to fold. You're going to find that first line and hold your paper. And just fold it slowly and gently. Stretching that paper. Oops, there we go. Alright, there we go. Okay, so my first tip, you do not have to use the same papers as I do, of course. But I will let you know if you use the plain cardstock, do not use it on your spine paper. The Graphic 45 paper is pretty thick. I like it to wrap my corners. I do not like just regular cardstock. This isn't my thick cardstock that I use for my pages. Couldn't find any purple heavy cardstock. So this is just a regular 65-pound one that has texture on the other side. I don't think it's strong enough for wrapping the corners. So that's just one tip to give you for that. Alright, now that I got the cover done, we can work on the pages. We're going to make our main page first. So we have two sheets for that, and all the measurements and dimensions, cut guide, score guide, all that's on my tutorial. The tutorial can be found on my blog, www.webofcreativity.net. Alright, so for this piece, which is our pocket piece, has two score lines, one at the top and one at the bottom. We're going to make these into tabs. So after we fold on the score line going the same direction, we're going to cut at an angle from the score. So we're just going to angle cut on all four corners. Then we are going to add our tape. I have 3 1/8 inch tape. Oops. So now we have two pieces that are taped. Then we're going to attach it to our page, flush to the side. And right now I'm just checking my measurement, make sure everything looks good before I attach down. And that's something I typically do to make sure everything, I cut it right and I scored it right. So I'm going to line up the bottom and the top, flush to the edge. And that is our pocket. Then we will work on our vertical style waterfall page. So we're going to take, so we have our two pieces. This is our main, this is our pull tab, this is our mechanism. These are our flaps, and these are our straps. So we'll put this to the side. And on our mechanism, we have a bunch of score lines. You see that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 score lines. And we're just going to fold in the same direction on all score lines. And I'm running my bone folder to give it a good crease. For the very first one, we're making that our tab. So we're going to cut at an angle. I'm going to taper our two corners. So we're going to cut at an angle from the score line. And then we're going to add our tape. I'm going to trim my tape because it's at an angle right now. And I need a flat edge. And I'm going to add, okay, I got it stuck on my finger. Hold on. Alright, and then I'm going to add it to all the areas. The rest of the 5 areas that I have. And I'm using 3/8 inch score tape. And I'm just putting the tape right in between each score line. So I have everything scored. And before I attach anything, I want to punch my corners. So I have the scallop punch from We Are Memory Keepers. This is a crocodile. I'm going to use the scallop design. This is my pull tab, so I'm going to just punch the bottom 2 corners only. I don't need to punch any corners on my mechanism. You're not going to see it. Then I have all of my waterfall flaps, so I'm just going to punch the bottom 2 corners only. This, of course, is optional. You can do just a regular corner rounder, just leave it square, do a stub. Alright, now I have all of my corners. We're going to go ahead and attach this guy. So we're going to fold the first one down and attach it flush to the top edge of the pull tab. And I'm going to turn it upside down so I can see it. So again, we're going to attach flush to the edge. Make sure it's lined up on both sides evenly. And then I'm going to run my bone folder. But you see where I'm attached. Perfect. Now I'm going to work upside down just because I need to see my edge. So what I'm going to do first is attach this flush edge to the edge of this guy. So we're just going to remove the tape on one at a time. So it's going to be flush to the edge, also evenly on both sides. And then I'm going to fold over just one section and repeat. So right now we are making our waterfall. It's pretty fast, pretty easy. And there we go. So now we have all of our pieces. Now if you hold your mechanism, and then there's your tab, and there we go. So then next we need to add our straps to this guy. So our straps I already have scored. These guys do not need to be tapered. You're not going to see the edges or the corners because they're going to get tucked behind in the main page that we have. So for this guy, we're going to add our tape to our tabs. This will be on the inside or the valley side, so when it's inwards. Alright, then we're going to add more tape to this guy. When it gets attached, it's going to have an overhang about of a 1/4 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. So we don't need tape on the 1/4 of an inch section. So when we add tape to this guy, we're going to go in about 1/4 of an inch and then stop short 1/4 of an inch. Of course, you can, I'm eyeballing, but you can definitely use your ruler. Alright, our first guy is going to get attached flush to this, to the mechanism piece. So we're going to do it flush and evenly. So I'm going to get my ruler to make sure I am even in the middle. So I'm lining up. I'm using a Tim Holtz ruler. It has a center point. It has a 0 and then it goes out to 1 inch. That's why I love about the Tim Holtz ruler, is because it has that center point and then goes out. So it makes it extremely easy to measure where your middle point is and where you're going to place your piece. So I'm removing my tape backing just on the this section, not the tabs. I find my center point. I'm going to have this flush to the mechanism piece. So you can see that overhang right there. And this guy's going to get wrapped underneath the page. Alright. Then our next one is going to go down 1 inch. This is 1.5 inches. Okay, I'm going to raise it. 1.5 inches? Yeah. I'm going to raise it a little bit. It's hard to see on the black. So let me... Yep, I'm going to have to do it sideways so I can see it a little bit better. Because it's hard to see the black cardstock underneath that ruler from a distance. So we're going to measure that center point again. And I'm actually at, yeah, no, we're good. And then make sure where my guy is without moving everything. I'm not in the center. Okay, there we go. Like, these numbers aren't adding up. I can't, I'm gonna have to move it. I can't see it. Alright, now that I got both of these guys on, we can hook it up to our main page. So these little flaps are going to go flapped right underneath this pocket page. So we'll have it on this guy. He's going to be, our waterfall piece is going to be 1/4 of an inch around the page. It's hard to see black on black, but it's going to be, there you go, 1/4 of an inch around the whole page. So we'll hold this and then attach the guys underneath. So let me take off this tape backing. And I'm just eyeballing my 1/4 of an inch, making sure I'm even on both sides. So I'm going to attach one side first. And again, making sure I'm even. There we go. Perfect. So now I'm going to open this guy up. And then just running my bone folder over, make sure it gets a good stick. All right. Perfect. Then our pocket, and then we need to work on our page 2, or backside. Backside, not page 2. All right, so our backside has our flaps. So he's going to be horizontal. Have one thick strap, and then our pull tab and our mechanism. See all those score lines. I'm going to go ahead and punch everything first. So pull tab. Oops, these are thick. Okay. Alright, I cut all my pieces. Alright, so for our mechanism, just like the first one, we're going to fold on each score line all in the same direction. And then running our bone folder over each score line. Make sure that that score is good and tight. We're going to add, we're going to taper our corners just for the top section. And I'm going to add a tape from the bottom to the top this time. So again, just adding the tape in between each score line. So you got the score line and then you have the tape. So you don't want the tape to go over the score line. I'm going to take the top of my pull tab. And I'll always check first. And I'm going to run my bone folder over it one more time. Okay, so I'm going to stick the tab flush on all 3 sides. There we go. So, all right. Starting from the top one first, I'm going to make it flush again to all edges, to all 3 edges. Perfect. The reason I keep running my bone folder over is because in order for this mechanism to work properly, you need to make sure those score lines are folded really well. Because if they're not, it doesn't move smoothly. Now if you're I'm using heavyweight cardstock, which makes a difference. That's why I keep running the bone folder, make sure those lines are all flat and smooth. I haven't made this with a lighter weight cardstock, but a 65-pound cardstock might not need as much work because it's not as thick. So you can always keep that in mind if you're using a lighter weight cardstock. But it never hurts. So I'm gonna hold my mechanism in place. There we go. Alright. Then we can work on our strap. So this guy only gets 1 strap. That's because the mechanism piece is shorter. It is a smaller piece. I'm going to use, I'm just getting my other tape. So, yeah. So I'm going to use, this is my 3/8 inch tape. I'm putting it real close to the edge. And I'm going to use my 1/4 inch tape so I can cover more of the tab. This tab is longer than the other tab. I did that because this one is, one strap is securing the whole Waterfall instead of 2 straps. So I wanted to make sure I had a longer tab, give it some more security. Alright. This guy is the same. Yep. It has a 1/4 inch leeway as well. So I'm gonna add my tape to the center, starting 1/4 inch away, stopping 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to add a piece in the middle. And I'm going to get my ruler. remove my tape backing. And this is going to have a 1/4 of an inch overhang on both sides. So I'm going to put my ruler. Alright, so we want to make sure this is, that the page is straight up and down, because we don't want to attach this upside down. So this guy is going to fit. It's going to have a 1/4 of an inch on both sides, but not at the top and bottom. This guy's a little bit smaller. So I'm going to check. Yeah, it's about 3/4 from the top. So I'm going to make it a little bit shorter. Looking good. I'm checking before I remove my tape backing, because I might have to manipulate the paper a little bit. Sometimes if the paper, you can manipulate it on the sides just a bit. I might not. Just in case if your straps put on a little crooked, or your score line is just a little too close to the inside, you can always make your paper tabs just a little bit wider if you need to when attaching. Alright, so I want it about 3/4 from the top. Oh, 3/4, okay, there we go. That's a lot better. Over just a smidge. Oh, perfect. He is even. He is even. All right. Okay, look at that. All right, now make another one just like that, and then we'll mat the pages and make our tags and put it in our album. Look at that. Fits right in there. Okay. So our next step is matting all of our flaps. This under section, the pull tab, and then this side where the pocket piece goes. So I cut out all of my mats, and I punched with a scallop edge. This is the We Are Memory Keepers Crocodile, and so I punched the bottom 2 corners on all the mats for the front side of the flap, and then the back side of the flap I punched all of the top corners. I also inked all of the edges of the pattern paper only. I did not ink any of the cardstock, and I used Distress Oxide Vintage Photo by Tim Holtz. Alright. So I'm only going to mat the first page, and then show you after all the other ones are matted. So I'm going to take the tape off. I just added the tape around the edges, and then I used my ATG Advanced Tape Glider for some extra adhesive. And when I attach, I do a My light, let me fix my lights. I do a 1/8 inch border all the way around. Make sure it is even. And then I'm going to attach the back side. Also 1/8 inch. Oops. Oh, this one's too long. Alright, I trimmed this guy down. That's the measure twice, cut once rule. I did not do. Okay. There we go. So we're going to attach all of those. Alright, I have all my pieces, my flaps done. I do want to go over something with you. I'm using Graphic 45's Flutter collection, and this has 2 each of 8 double-sided papers. So there's only 16 sheets in this paper collection. Then I added a few sheets of cardstock. This album is only 2 pages long because the waterfalls take up a lot of paper. You can see that it's double-sided, and it does take up a lot. So this whole, just these 2 sheets with these 2 waterfalls and the cover takes up the whole paper collection and a couple of sheets of cardstock. Plus I still have a tag to do, 2 tags to do. So if you like the pages and you want to put more in your album, one, you'll need to increase your spine, and when we do a binding, you'll need to do another set of the binding just to double it, but you will also have to double your paper collection. Again, it is because waterfalls are both front and back, and it is a decent sized mat. It's a pretty large mat. It takes up a lot of paper. So again, just with these 2 pages in this little album, with the cover and the tags, will take up the entire paper collection. Not the entire. I used 2 sheets that I cut apart for the butterflies, and the cut apart page that has the, I don't know where it went, that has the pieces. So I did use two sheets to cut into. So I just wanted to let you know that if you like this page and you wanted more than 2, you will need more paper and a bigger spine. Okay, so I matted all the flaps. So the last part is this under flap section. So I'm removing my tape backing. I'm going to add my ATG. And I didn't punch any of these corners. I left them all square. And then I'm going to attach the side piece right here. I did punch the corners of this guy. I'm going to add more tape. And I'm going to turn this guy sideways so you can see him better. And just like the other ones, I'm doing a 1/8 inch border. Alright, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. So, alright, holding my pocket open. Trying to make sure my page doesn't get attached. There we go. So now I have this guy down. Still got a tag to put in, and flip over and do my other waterfall. Let me get those pages. So this guy is 5 flaps and 1 pull tab. This one is actually full 6 flaps and a pull tab. So let's do 1 page. We got I love this teal and blue paper right here. That's really pretty. Okay, just like the other side, we do a 1/8 inch border. Alright, then we're going to attach all of them. Alright, all the flaps are done, so the next part is the pull tab and the other underneath section, which is right here. So we're going to do a purple piece for the underneath section. And then we have the very large pull tab, which needs to slide underneath. Like so. And I punched the bottoms of the pull tab. There we go. Alright, there is our waterfall, and then we need to work on the binding and the 2 tags, and then mat the second page the same way. Alright, next are our tags. So we cut out a large tag, and then we have 2 mats for them. So I just used the scallop punch and punched all 4 corners of the mat. And then we're going to attach them. So before you attach them, ink the edges. So I've already done that with this set. So we're going to have an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So I need to add my extra adhesive. that's our tag. So we have 2 tags for that. And then next we have our binding for our book. So it's just 1 piece, 4 score lines. And we're going to get, I'm getting my tape out. So we're going to fold. We're going to fold 2 of our sides first. Then we're going to add tape. And then attach the 2 pieces together. And flip over to fold. And then we're going to taper the corners, so that's cutting at an angle from the score line up for an angle. We're going to do that for all 4 corners. Next we're going to add tape flush to the edge. We're going to do that on both tabs, on both sides. And again, flush to the edge. Then we're going to add tape to the middle in between the score lines. I'm going to get, the tape I was using is 3/8 inch. So I'm going to grab my 1/4 inch or my 1/4 inch tape and run another piece. There we go. Got it all taped up. And then we can attach it to the album. Alright, for attaching our binding piece to the center of our album, I take the Tim Holtz ruler that has the circle 0 in the middle, and I just I go up about a 1/4 inch and I find my center spot, and then I just draw my little line of where my piece goes, and I do it for the top and the bottom, and then I use that line as a guide. So pretty much just find the center point and attach. So I'm going to turn this guy sideways so I can see it better for me. And then we're going to line up with my line here. And line up with this line. And before I attach it, I make sure that it's even. now we'll get our pages on there. Okay, before we attach these, a couple of tips, I guess. So this opens up, and that's where our piece is going to slide in at. So first thing you want to know is don't attach it flush. You don't want it to hit the spine, okay? So the reason why we added the tape flush to this edge, we kept a little space open. And that is so we have movement in the page going back and forth. We don't want to attach it right up to the book, or this thing's not going to turn. It's not going to turn my page. So when I attach it, you can see, oops, I can do this. We don't want it to go all the way down. We want to leave some of it showing on both sides, so we can move it freely back and forth. And go slow, slide it down, and look before you squeeze it together and attach. The other thing, if you want, sometimes I'll take off both of these tabs and put them on. If you want, you can just take off one side and attach it so the other side doesn't get stuck. And then when this guy is attached on one side, let me see if I can put this on. You can go under with your craft knife and pull up a piece of the paper and pull it. So I've done that too. You can do it either way, whatever's more comfortable for you. The more and more that you do, the more comfortable you'll get, or you'll have your certain ways that you like your pages attached, or different bindings or whatnot. Okay, so we'll go ahead and attach, and I'll stop mumbling or rambling. So I'm going to slide this guy down. Oh, and always slide on your tab before you remove the tape to make sure you don't have to trim any more off of your tab, that your pages were cut right, that your binding was cut right. It's a good suggestion to do before you attach the binding to the book itself. It's not sliding as good as my practice. Just bear with me. I'll get it. I need another hand. Oh, there we go. Oh, that looks good. Yeah, that looks good on that side. Let's see what this side looks like. Oh, and it came out. I was trying not to attach it because it looked good. Oh, that looks good like that. It's hard to see in the, you can see a little bit of area that I have showing. That little bit of area that it's showing to show you where I put it down at. And then I'm going to press it down the best I can. Then grab my second page here. Alright. That looks good. This side looks good. And I'm pressing it down. Pressing it down. So now it's decorating time, and get my tag in there. So I haven't decided yet, but I think I might add some paper here and here. I have some purple paper left over just to go underneath it, so you can, just to define it a little bit more. I think that's what I'm going to do. But the paper collection comes with some stickers, and I got these gorgeous stickers, and then I still have some butterflies to cut out. So I'm just going to cut out all these butterflies and use them as I design the front cover and design you know, the inside covers and stickers and decorations. So I will show you that when I'm done. Okay, we're going to work on the original waterfall page. So I've already made the main page, base page, which is the same as the first, the pull tab one. And we have our vertical flaps. So on our vertical flaps, we have one score line. If you can, it's hard to see. Fold on the score line. Then we're going to taper the corners, which is cut at an angle from the score line. Then we're going to add tape to the tab. And as optional, punch the corners. I'm using a scallop punch from We Are Memory Keepers. And then we make 6 of those flaps. So we have 6 flaps ready to go. And what we're going to do is start from the bottom to the top. So what I like to do is first run my bone folder over it one more time to get that as flat as possible. We're going to take the ruler so we can get it centered. And this is going to be 1/4 inch border. So it's going to be from the bottom and the sides. Oop, and then I got it stuck in my finger. So once the first one is attached, the rest are pretty easy because we're going to use the top of the first flap as our guide. So run my bone folder. So this tab right here is going to hit, it's going to hit the top of the first flap. And then when we close it, we're just going to make sure that it's even on both sides. So that's how we're going to attach. I'm going to turn it sideways just so I can get a better view because I want to make sure it's lined up on both sides. My tab is hitting the top of the first one. and then fold over and make sure they're even on both sides. Then we're going to keep working. So I'm just hitting that top, and then as I'm getting it closer to attaching to the page, I'm just making sure that it's lining up straight along the edge, making sure all of those are straight. And then the last flap. So we have our last flap starting at 1/4 of an inch, ending at 1/4 of an inch. Okay, then we're going to flip over and do our horizontal page. This one also has one score line where we fold on the tab. We're going to taper our corners, add the tape to the tabs, and punch our corners. And then attach. So I'm just looking for my middle spot. And this, of course, is going to be attached higher up than that 1/4 inch. But we will have that 1/4 inch on both sides. So that's our first one attached. And this gets attached the same way. I'm going to turn this upside down, where we take that tab, put it up against the top of the first one, and we're going to lay it down evenly to both sides. And there's 6 of these flaps. So when you're doing these, you want to make sure that they're both are going the same direction. So you want to make sure, because if you're working upside down, you want to make sure that you're not actually putting them upside down. All right, one last one. Oops. Okay. And once you like that placement and everything looks good, go ahead and take your bone folder. You can run it across the top and then in between where that tab is to make sure it gets stuck. So you do that to all of the pages, this side and this side. And now we're going to work on the magnets and matting. Alright, the next difference between this one and the pull tab album is the pull tab seems to stay flat on the flaps. These guys don't, so they need a closure. So either you can attach a strap and connect it in the middle, either by magnet or by a paper clip of some kind, or you can use magnets, or nothing at all. It's just really floppy. So I'm going to use my magnets. So with this video, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to use 4. I think is adequate to attach these, because once we get 2's just not going to be enough. Once we get all the paper attached, even though 2 or 3 might hold it down, we got to consider pictures. So once pictures go on here, it's going to be real thick, and 2 and 3 might not hold it. So we're going to do a magnet every other page. But we're going to start with the back, and we're going to go ahead and first add some tape to the back side of my magnet. It doesn't matter what side you use to start off on. So I added my tape, and then I'm taking my ruler. I'm just pretty much eyeballing the center. It's not 100%, you know, doesn't really need to be completely centered. The reason why it's so far up on the back one is because we have the front flap to consider. So I'm going to pull down 2 of these and then find my next spot. And we're just going to add tape over it. Drop 2 more down, add another magnet. Add a strip of tape, 2 more, last one, add my tape. There we go. Now we can have more secure and laying flat. And then I can add my tape to my last magnet here, just for extra security. And that's one side. Let's flip this guy over and do this side. Alright, so for this one, I already added my tape to my magnets. Let me take that off. And I use my ruler on this one for more center point. Okay, we got that one attached. 2 down. And if, now these magnets are, I think they're 1/2 inch. Yeah, they're 1/2 inch magnets, and I do sell them on my blog separately without a kit and a stack of 25. So if it's www.webofcreativity.net, or the link is below. Last one. There we go. Alright, now that we got our magnets attached, we can work on our matting. Oh, let me add my tape to this guy right here. Now we can work on matting. Time to mat the album, and I've already cut everything out. So what I have is so cut out the pieces, and I corner punched all of them with the scallop punch from We Are Memory Keepers. Bottom edge, that's for the top one, and for the underneath I punched all 4 corners. And I did that because I accidentally punched the wrong corners. So I'm like, oh, I'll just punch all 4 of them. It'll look good. And I didn't want to waste paper. So we're going to go ahead and I'm not going to go through the whole matting. I'm just going to mat the first page and the side area. And then we'll flip and mat the other side. Just to finish this page off. And of course I add my extra ATG. And then remove my tape for my magnet. And my favorite is trimming my paper down for a 1/8 inch border. Is what I like. Just making sure that magnet piece is stuck on good, and then take one underneath piece. There's that guy, and then all the way after all those are matted, we have the underneath piece. So I have it so when this last guy is closed, you can't see it. Of course, you can mat the whole area if you want. That is up to you on how you want to mat your under section there. Okay, and I'm just going to get close. Perfect. And then I have this side area, so I cut out a piece, punched the corners also, and that's just going to get slid in there just a little bit. And attached also with that border. And I'm going to turn this sideways so I can see it. I'm going to turn it the other sideways so I can put this down here. There we go. Perfect. Alright, now I'm going to mat the rest of these pages and then we'll flip over. Okay, I've matted all of my pages and ready to flip it over to work on the other side. So I got front, back, and then top and underneath the album. Alright, so let's get these attached. to be the same. We're going to have a 1/8 inch border all the way around. Okay, so that's how you mat those, and then I'm going to mat the top section. Turn this guy around so I can get it even. And then I'm going to attach this back guy. Just taking a look at it. That's what you should do before you attach, just in case you cut wrong. And I inked these pages with the same Tim Holtz Distress Oxide Vintage Photo. I'll do a light ink all the way around it. Alright, let me finish matting this guy. Okay, I finished matting all the pages for this guy. And that's it for the Christmas version. I'm going to finish up working on this album and post the finished product on my blog when it is done. And let me go ahead and show you all the pages of the Flutter album. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show you all the decorating and matting that I did for this album. So I pop dotted everything in the front. These squares are cut aparts from the album. And then I fussy cut the little butterflies and then rounded the wings just using a paintbrush. So the same thing with these butterflies here. And then I just, this is a part of the cutout page, and just gave it a border. And I didn't do heavy decorating, just some stickers here and there from the collection. So I have the Flutter sticker. But yeah, just couple of stickers, just nothing a lot, because you want that room for your photos. And then I added a border at the top and bottom. Just some stickers, and then I decorated this area right here. And then Busy as a Bee, I love this strip right here. I think that's a motto for a lot of people's lives, busy as a bee. I have a sticker up there. It's not a whole lot. Of course, you can decorate it completely different than how I decorated. If you want to add more bling, more butterflies. Okay. That's it. So the tutorial has both the pull tab waterfall and the original waterfall in the tutorial. I only have kits for the Flutter paper collection, not the Christmas one. And that's it. Everything's on my blog, www.webofcreativity.net. kits and tutorials. And thank you for watching.